Testing, testing. That's a clapper.
What? The STI?
No. You mean the clap? Gonorrhea is no joke.
Oh, is that what the clap is?
Yeah.
Gonorrhea?
I thought for the longest time it's chlamydia, because cla.
Oh, yeah.
But apparently it's gonorrhea.
Welcome back to another episode of Talking Pictures with Tawana and Max. I'm Tawana.
I'm Max.
This week we've got Equilibrium. Your choice.
Yes.
Now, normally we don't do this. We don't talk about a film before we tape. But last night,
Yeah.
we spoke about it a little bit. Why did you pick this one?
Few reasons. This movie feels very 90s, but with a bit of a post 9/11 tinge to it. If you know what I mean. We talked a bit about that with Face Off.
Wait.
Yeah.
Go into that.
90s, but with a post 9/11 tinge.
Yeah.
Well, 9/11 changed everything. It definitely changed like there is a noticeable shift in the sort of tone of movies post 9/11 to being a little bit more bleak, a little bit more complicated. The 90s were a simpler time. As The Matrix says, the 90s were the peak of human civilization, and it's been all downhill since then.
Yeah.
No, some things have gotten better, but in general, the world is more complicated now. People are more aware of the nuances of the world than they were in the 90s, and that bleeds through into the art, I believe. Okay, well, last night, one of the things I said was that this movie is more Matrix than The Matrix.
Yes, you did.
And
I asked you, what do you mean by that?
Yes. To me, basically all the points that The Matrix was trying to hit, at least the main ones, not like, I mean, you can go into very, very deep readings of The Matrix and find interesting philosophical things, but The Matrix is kind of it's simpler in a way. It's the ideas of waking up to the system around you,
yeah,
and finding a new way in life, and all these things about the self and how the self relates to others, and all of Morpheus's philosophical ramblings. But The Matrix makes a lot of these points by mostly by having Morpheus look at the camera or look at Neo and say these sort of philosophical phrases that sound very, very deep and are deep when you read into them, but it's really, to me, it feels very expositional in all of those points that it's trying to make. And then The Matrix, the other side of it is the action, jumpy, twisty, flippy, leather, guns all over the place. This movie, I think, does some of the philosophical stuff a little more neatly because it really puts it into the characters. Okay, I don't want to make this a Matrix bonus thing. But throughout the Matrix movies, the source of a lot of those ideas is from Morpheus. And as the movies go on, we get more of Morpheus's character as this man of total faith in Neo and in the One, and in the fact that he believes with all his heart that despite everything, Neo will save them. He will bring about their salvation that way. But some of that comes through in the first one, but without all the extra context we get about the Oracle and the fucking, what's the guy with the beard in the room, what's his name? You know.
Oh, fuck.
The one.
I was gonna say the cleric, but that's
this one.
That's this one.
Yeah. You know.
I know
what
who you're talking about. I know who you're talking about.
The controller guy. Morpheus's character in the first one, he doesn't have a lot fighting against him because we don't see a lot of Zion in the first one. And Zion, the rest of the people there are so more sort of bureaucratic. They're trying to protect everyone and they don't believe in Morpheus's faith in Neo. So in the first one, it's really like Morpheus is the main drive of those ideas. There's not a whole lot pushing back against him except the Matrix itself and Agent Smith and the system itself. This movie takes those ideas of fighting back against the system and gives them really relatable human sources because it's all about emotion and art and the freedom of humanity that comes from feeling things, and repressing that, you're taking away everything that makes life worth living.
Yeah.
But it wraps those similar ideas up in character motivations more than The Matrix does, I feel. The Matrix is really like, again, I don't want to make this Equilibrium versus The Matrix. The Matrix is great, I love it, but it does everything a little bit more simply, except for some of the action. It's got more technically interesting action pieces in it because of the budget and the creativity of the Wachowskis and everything they're trying to do there. But this movie, so yeah, all those character motivations are wrapped up real well. You feel a lot of drive and opposition from all these characters going into it. The dystopia is, it's a really cool dystopia. It's very oppressive, all the super fascistic architecture, the pseudo swastika everywhere. And then you get into the action, and the action in this movie is fucking awesome. The gunplay is just fucking rad.
Gun kata.
There's not as much, slow-mo bullet time as in The Matrix because of the budget, again. But what they do with their limitations, it makes it so fucking cool. So yeah, this movie to me is more Matrix than The Matrix, and I love it with all my heart.
See, when you said that
Yeah.
last night, it got me thinking, and I actually do agree with you. I do agree with you. And as I said last night, I had seen the film before when I was a kid. And I found it cool as a kid with the action scenes because I was way too young to be watching a film like this. But now, revisiting it again, it's so deep.
It's a little bit pretentious sometimes, but it's very deep, and it really tries to go for these lofty ideas.
It's quite interesting how this film, so Equilibrium came out in 2002, directed by Kurt Wimmer.
Wimmer. I think Wimmer. I'm pretty sure he's American.
Yeah, he is American. I'm gonna go with Wimmer. And it's a dystopian sci-fi starring Christian Bale. Sean Bean is in it.
Sean Bean.
Who else is in it? Emily Watson.
Yeah.
She's in it.
I love her. Taye Diggs.
Taye Diggs.
Can't forget about Taye Diggs.
Taye Diggs. William Fichtner.
Oh, Bill Fichtner.
It's a great cast. One of the... I don't know if you've seen 1984.
Which version?
The John Hurt.
No. I've only seen a little bit of it when you were watching it the other week.
Wait, there's another version?
There's a few different versions of 1984, I think. 1984 films. Oh god, no. 1984 films is just giving me movies that came out in 1984. God damn it.
But the reason I bring up 1984 is, and I was looking this up, is because the visual aesthetic of the world is quite similar. And I was looking it up when I was looking up Equilibrium. There's a lot of talk from critics about the similarities between 1984 and this film, Fahrenheit 451. And one of the things that's really striking is that when you have an authoritarian state or totalitarian state, and what's the society? Libria?
Libria, yeah.
Libria is the place. And how people are controlled. It's always fascinating to me how bleak that sort of idea is to people. Like, you can't visualize that type of world where you've got nature. Like in 1984, it is a distinct thing. Like, nature isn't around where the people are.
Yeah.
You have to get away to get to nature. And something about having nature link into freedom, but when everything is sort of the same, it sort of saps out any individualism, which, going to the film Equilibrium, is one of the big things. So they've had 3 world wars, and they decided the reason we've had the world wars is because of human emotion.
Yes.
I'm with you. Absolutely. I agree.
Yeah, I don't think that's disputable, of course.
So, what's the solution? Well, let's find a way to suppress human emotion. Now, initially, I was like, okay, okay, yeah, I'm with you. But the implications of suppressing human emotions, the film gets into it.
Yeah.
Because it's not just... I've always wondered, what comes first? Does your thought come first and then you have the feeling? Or does your feeling come first and then you have the thought? I don't know what the answer to that is. There's probably an answer to that. I don't know what it is.
If we want to get into the whole free will thing, there have been a few studies that show that our brains respond to stimuli before the other part of our brain that sort of makes us feel like we've made a decision responds. So it seems like, at least in some cases, it's instinct then rational thought overlaid on top of that to justify it.
Because the film opens with it's a raid.
The new police force with the super nerd. I love that in this dystopia, all of them decide, like, all right, we've just been through World War III. We need to redo some of this stuff. Let's have super nerdy names. Let's just go full D&D with it. So they named the new police force the Grammaton Cleric.
Which is fucking cool.
It's so cool.
So fucking cool. I want to be one.
Yeah.
I want to be one.
Get that sick leather priest-ass coat.
You know, the religious undertones were heavy in this one.
Oh, yeah.
Because there's certain points within the film where what is it? The Latin religious music that starts playing, similar to Face Off.
Yeah, the choirs and everything.
The choirs and everything that starts playing in different parts. But when Christian Bale kicks the door down and the room's completely dark.
Oh, it's such a cool
And you
scene.
just see the gunshots.
They're getting ready for the raid. They get up to the place where all the people are hiding. He takes a running charge at the door, bashes it down, slides in on it, and then gets up as the camera pans around and points at him with this backlight from the hallway outside in this sick-ass pose. God, this movie rules.
And you just see the gunshots. It's just flashing.
Yeah.
And then it stops. Like, did we get him? Did we get him? No, you didn't. Because it starts doing the gun kata bullshit.
Gun kata!
The original Kung Fu.
I'm not sure exactly where it started. Like, people have been doing martial arts stuff with guns for a while. But
The Matrix doesn't do martial arts stuff with the guns.
Not a whole lot that way, no. This one specifically incorporates, you know, all those sick-ass action poses that people do when they're fighting with guns in movies? Well, we're making that into an actual martial arts form.
But it works.
Yeah.
It works.
He lights up, it's the silence, and everyone's like, did we get him? They're scared, shitless. And then we just see the lights from the barrels, and he's whipping these poses with added on whoosh sound effects as he does the movements with his arms, which is very silly, but I love it so much. Like, it's a literal cartoon. But he's just doing that, and we keep strobing back and forth between all these people getting blasted away. And then it goes to darkness again. And the darkness in these little shots lasts for like a good 5 to 10 seconds.
Yeah.
It's a lot of darkness.
Yeah.
It's kind of bold for a movie around this time. But yeah, we get the darkness again, and then we just see the glow from his gun barrels. Ugh. Ugh.
And his partner is Sean Bean, who plays Errol Partridge.
Errol Partridge, I believe. Yeah.
And this, immediately, you notice, this is how great of a fucking actor Sean Bean is. You notice he's conflicted, but you don't know what he is conflicted by.
Right before Christian Bale busts into the room, you see him get ready to do it, and Scene just gives him a look, being like, And you can tell he's concerned, even though if you don't know why he might be yet.
But it's the scene when they're in the car, and they're going back. And what does Preston say to Partridge? Preston, played by Christian Bale.
Yeah. I don't remember all of it. The bit I wrote down from that scene was Scene Bean is looking out the window saying, how long till all this is gone, till we've burned every last bit of it? And then Christian Bale says, resources are tight, we'll get it all eventually. And it's a great, they're just planting these little seeds. It's, you know, I've been calling him Scene Bean because that's my instinct to call him that because it's more fun. Did you know that he specifically changed his name so that it would look like Scene Bean?
Did he?
Yeah, his name is Sean Bean, but it was spelled like S-H-A-W-N. You can see it on some of those boards in RADA.
Oh.
Yeah, he won like an award one year, but it's spelled S-H-A-W-N. It was before he changed it to be Scene Bean.
Oh.
Yeah. But anyway, you get these hints that he is, conflicted about what's going on. And he's wondering, you could read it as, if you don't know the twist, you could read it as him being like, how much longer till we finish our job, till we finish our task? And Christian Bale reassures him, saying like, we'll get it. But then he makes a sad face as he's looking out the window. And you think, maybe he's not into it.
Because that is the big thing of like, when you suppress your emotion and you stop doing it, you start to feel the emotions. You start to see, it's almost like an awakening. Going back to the Matrix. When you awaken outside of the Matrix and you start to see what's actually happening, you start to realize, oh, this is actually bullshit. And it's in that. It's funny how this came out in 2002, right?
Yeah.
We're recording this in 2025. And I hate to get political, but there is parallels between, obviously, this is the destination of where they've gone to. But where I feel that society, especially in the West, is going towards, in terms of finding a way to control people so that it's just one, individualism will get out of the window. It's like what I was saying to you yesterday, that one of my biggest fears is that the reality we inhabit, this one, won't be important as the reality online.
Yeah.
And if that's the reality, then you can control people in whatever way you want. You can show people whatever things. I mean, they're already doing it. They're showing you what they want you to see.
Yeah.
What is the repercussions of that? How far can you take it? How far can you numb people enough to the point where they just go along and stop seeing the bullshit?
Yeah.
Which is why Equilibrium is fucking like, yeah. It bombed. It got terrible reviews.
Yeah.
And it makes me wonder why.
I think I think I said last night, it got caught up in the underworld of it all. The underworld of it all. The post-Matrix, suddenly this style was big. The leather, the guns, the shitty new metal techno soundtrack. The Resident Evils were on the horizon at this point. Like a lot of those movies, they blur together because a lot of them are slop.
Yeah.
And this movie could easily get caught up in the mix. We watched the trailer last night, and it's not a great trailer for the movie.
No, it doesn't represent what the movie is. It touches upon a couple of the themes, but it doesn't really go into, because if you watch the trailer, you think, oh, there's some sort of dystopian action-packed thriller, whatever. But it's much more than that, and you do have the dystopian, you do have the action, you do have the thriller, but it is much deeper. It has something to say. And that's what I'll give to Kurt. He has something to say, and I don't necessarily feel as if I sort of feel like there's a couple of pacing issues.
Sure. Okay.
Within the film.
Okay.
Where it sort of loses the pace, but I was with it enough because the story kept me engaged.
Yeah.
And going back to John Preston, because he's conflicted within all of this, but his partner, Partridge is conflicted in all of this. His partner, Preston, Christian Bale, is like the top guy.
He's the best cleric they have.
And he reads.
He uses empathy to hunt down sense offenders, the people who feel emotions. And it's brilliant. It's why he's the perfect candidate for everything that comes next. He says that he is able to put himself in the mind of these people who would be making these sense offenses. And that's what gives him the edge. He is already right on the edge of feeling all of it. He's just holding himself back.
And there's a great scene when he's at home and he's sleeping. And he basically has a panic attack.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, oh my god, this is fucking brilliant, because at this point he's still taking the Prosium, which is the drug that they all take to suppress their emotions. And I was thinking, oh, so he's already struggling with it.
Yeah.
He's already thinking about it. And it's not until he catches Partridge, Sean Bean, reading poetry, which Yeats, he was reading Yeats.
Yep. The poem "And Wishes for the Cloths of Heaven." The lines that he reads from it are, "But I, being poor, have only my dreams. I have spread my dreams under your feet. Tread softly, because you tread on my dreams." Beautiful poem. And basically he's putting it out there that the only thing we have in this world is dreams, is feeling, is all of that. And yes, to feel all of that, it means that we have to be mercy to the feelings of other people as well.
It's an interesting juxtaposition between emotions, right? Because you can feel love, you can feel hate. They're different sides of the same coin.
At one point, Father, the big brother face of the authoritarian state in this, he keeps giving these speeches throughout the movie, which I thought was sort of an interesting point about this dystopia. A lot of it can seem really shallow and just like the bullet points of a dystopia, but if you think about it, no, it's interesting. He keeps giving these speeches throughout, explaining why they do what they do, how they do what they do, and the speeches are given to various masses of people around the whole big super city. So it means that they're keeping people in fear. They are weaponizing fear. Okay, not right now, but I want to talk about the hypocrisy of this fascist state, because it's cool how it's built up. But at one point he calls like love and hate, anger, joy, all of these things, he calls them sister emotions, and says that, yes, to eliminate the bad ones, we do have to eliminate the good ones as well, but we're saving your asses.
You know, there was something interesting that I sort of wondered, because after Sean Bean dies, Preston gets assigned a new partner who's played by Taye Diggs. And Taye Diggs is smiling.
Yeah.
And I was like, is that not an emotion?
Their first interaction, he chuckles to him.
Yeah.
He's like looking for his approval, and And throughout the movie, he gets confident and loves all the massacres that he's doing, and he gets angry and rageful. He's not on the drugs. He's a useful psychopath.
And I was thinking, wait, hold on. So you're telling me I can be off the drugs, but you never know. Because if I just keep it to myself, no one will ever know.
Mm-hmm.
There's no way for you to check. You're not testing me. At no point is anyone tested if they're taking the drugs.
Only a couple times. Only right towards the end when Christian Bale's trying to get in.
When they put the thing on his neck and but I didn't know, I couldn't tell what it meant because I can never tell what it...
It's a polygraph test. It's used twice in this movie, once by the resistance and once by the authoritarian state. Polygraphs basically just measure things like your heart rate, your body temperature, how much you sweat, and it translates those readings into the graphs on the paper, into the different lines. Polygraphs are used for lie detectors because when people lie, their heart beats faster and they start to sweat more, and these little things happen that makes it so that you can tell that they're lying. Unless they practice at it and train at it and just get good enough at lying that they can repress those bodily reactions to it. Polygraphs are not accurate. They are not usable in a court of law. They're not like reliable evidence to use in a court of law because they can be so easily tricked. They can be so easily faulty. They can read just a strong emotional response or rather, when you have a strong emotional response, they'll read that, but then that could be interpreted as a lie or just an emotional response or whatever.
Oh, okay, okay.
But yeah.
Because it's not just the suppression of emotion, it's also them destroying art, destroying books, there's no film, there's nothing.
EC10 is what they call these emotional, criminally illegal objects.
Because at the beginning when the sort of the big scene where Christian Bale bumps in, they find the Mona Lisa.
Yeah.
And it's an authentic one.
It's real.
And they burn it.
Burn it. Great offer to start the movie with.
But there was a moment during that part where Christian Bale's looking at it.
Mm-hmm.
And because Mona Lisa has the smile, I sort of read it as like, you can start to see the conflict of like, within him, of like, I don't know how to sort of pinpoint it. Whether it was him sort of wondering what that feels like.
Yeah.
Smiling. I don't know what it is.
I think what this movie is saying is that it's actually impossible to completely eliminate people's emotions because then they wouldn't do anything. They wouldn't be anything. But you just have to repress them and direct them in the right way if you want to control people. So Christian Bale, like I said, he's on the edge of feeling all these things. He's just holding himself back, I think, more than the drugs are holding him back. The drugs are suppressing him, but like the drug, it's called Prozium, which I think is a deliberate reference to Prozac, which is...
Is that what he does?
An antidepressant.
Oh.
Which... oftentimes just numbs everything.
Yeah, that's what antidepressants do, yeah.
So, I mean, it works in a way if you're trying to get rid of extreme negative feelings, but then, yeah. He's sort of feeling the wave of all that just short of cresting as he's looking at the Mona Lisa. And then when they burn it and he walks away, you hear these screams in the background of no one in the room getting killed. They're just like ambient, non-diegetic screams because I think it's in his head. There is this part of him that is acknowledging the pain of destroying something like that.
Yeah. It was when he's back at home and you first meet his kids. You meet the first one, the son.
Little narc. And
I was thinking, this is a little Nazi right here.
Oh, yeah.
He was like keeping him in check. And I was like, what's up? And obviously, going back to 1984, because they're not allowed to watch anything else other than propaganda, the kids watching propaganda. And along that path of like, oh, here's a kid, get them in early, push the propaganda in early. That's what it is.
It's a very real tactic that was used throughout history. I believe in Czechoslovakia, when it was under authoritarian rule, kids would be encouraged to rat out their parents if they were saying anything negative about the state.
I wonder if there is that type of thing happening now with the whole Andrew Tate thing.
Mm-hmm.
If that starts now. Because I was speaking to my sister about the show Adolescence.
Yeah.
That came out, and it's basically about incel culture and how it's affecting young boys. But then she said, oh, she hadn't seen it. But I asked her if people in her school had seen it. And she was like, oh, some people have seen it, they liked it. But then I asked her about like Andrew Tate. And like, oh, all the boys love Andrew Tate in my school. And I thought I thought that was interesting.
Mm-hmm.
That she said, "Oh, the boys love Andrew Tate," and obviously, I think it was a hyperbole.
Yeah.
Because I called her out on it, and she was like, "Okay, it's not all the boys, but most of the boys love Andrew Tate." And I do wonder if that thing is already beginning, because you have to think we're looking at it now, but my thing is going back to the reality that we inhabit and the reality online is, where are we going to be 20 years from now? Because if these spaces are open now and these, I don't know, what subreddit groups, I don't even know what the...
Internet communities.
Yeah, internet communities exist now. If someone's born this year, it's a different playing field.
Yeah.
Especially if you get them in early. Especially if you're giving your kid that device. Who knows where they go into? Because you don't know. So I do wonder if that's starting now. Wait. Sorry, the sun.
Yeah.
Sun game propaganda. We're gonna move back and forth between the beginning, middle, and...
Yeah.
Because you find out later on that the kid has actually stopped taking. Because there's when Christian Bale has the nightmare, you find out that his wife was committing sex crime, which is not taking the Prosium. And she got taken away and got burnt, because that's what they do. They don't have funerals. That's a nice detail in there. Because funerals lead to emotion.
Yeah, that's what they're for.
And it's like, no, we just burn it.
Burn the body, disposal, processing.
But when you find out that the kid hasn't been taking the drugs, I was like, fuck yeah, this kid's smart.
Kid's smart. You see throughout that they use kids as basically surveillance people to just watch over crowds and point out people that are potentially sense offenders. And this kid seems like he's one of the best. He narked out his own mom. Christian Bale gets chewed out after the initial raid by the head of the clerics, or whatever the guy's job is, who we later figure out is puppeteering the entire authoritarian state. But he says, so your wife was charged with a sense offense. Did you report it? And Christian Bale says, no, someone else did. And then we find out later, yeah, it was that fucking kid. Sold out his own mom. And so it's good that he's, on the side of freedom later on, but still, narked out his own mom.
Now that I think about it, that's bullshit.
Was bullshit.
That he sold out his own mom, but he actually stopped taking it after his mom died. What did he think was going to happen?
Well, so I think that he sold out his mom because he was brainwashed to do that, but obviously his mom being executed triggered such a strong emotional response that sort of woke him up to it. He was like, oh, maybe this isn't good. And since then, he was the perfect little sleeper agent, playing along to the whole emotionless everything all the way, even reinforcing and terrifying the shit out of his dad when Christian Bale first drops the dose on the floor and the kid says, what are you doing? What are you doing? It's like, Jesus, calm down, kid. What are you, 12?
Maybe.
So yeah, it's
Okay.
It's a give and take.
Okay, okay. I'll give it. I'll give it. But when you meet Mary O'Brien, who's played by Emily Watson, and she gets caught up committing sense crime as well,
Got a whole stash of art and stuff.
which a lot of people who got caught committing sense crime had their own stash.
Yep.
Of like either painting. It was all these different things. Like there was a record player.
Yep.
And it played classical music. And I was thinking this about what it is about classical music, because I've been listening to a lot of classical music for the past month. And I've been wondering, what is it about it? Now, initially, I listened to it because there aren't any words.
Yeah.
So it's really just, I'm listening to it and my feelings go with the music. There's no sort of ideas entering into my mind for me to think. It's almost like a clean, plain field in some sort of way.
Yeah.
But I do wonder what it is about classical music that's sort of, whether it is that thing of like it doesn't have any words, and whether words specifically make you think of specific ideas.
I think in the last 100 years, music has been commercialized and commodified so much that the form has been streamlined to, most mainstream music, verse, chorus, bridge. You get these repeating things. A lot of classical music has repeating motifs and repeating themes, but there's no like verse for 8 bars and then a bridge for 4 bars and then a chorus for 16 bars or whatever. It's an evolving conversation with itself is what a lot of classical music is. And if you're open to receiving that, then I think that can take you on, just a more nuanced emotional journey than pop songs. Pop songs are great at hammering home sort of one or a few specific feelings, but then a classical piece over a whole movement or symphony can take you on a whole journey.
Okay. Okay. Because I have been finding myself listening to older music. Like old school jazz.
Yeah.
Al Green. Been listening to a lot of Al Green recently. And it was just something in that moment when I saw that scene where I was like, I was just wondering, what is it about that music that sort of enters your soul, whatever that is, and sort of impacts it? What it ignites within us, specifically. But I think you're right. Because going back to Mary O'Brien, she's got the stash with all this stuff. Now, initially, you get the sense, and it's sort of proven later on, you get the sense that Preston has some sort of infatuation with her.
Yeah.
And I initially thought, they probably not allowed to sort of touch.
Yeah.
Because the interrogation scene, there's a couple. There's the first one where he pins her down and he smells her. And it's the same scent that he took, what is it, a ribbon?
Yeah.
A red ribbon. And it's the same scent. And then it's the second interrogation scene when they're trying to touch each other's hands.
Yeah.
Which I thought was fucking fantastic. But at the exact same time, I was like, there's a camera in the room. This is not the place to be trying to touch each other's hands. Which is why I had the problem, because I was like, it's easy. This is easy. If you want to get into father's crib, like, you can play the game. You just have to know how to play it. You can pretend.
Well, I'm not sure, because we do find out later that he is being used by the state to infiltrate the resistance, to flush it out. It's just that they don't count on him being as badass as he actually is. So they bring him all the way up to Father's front door, and then they're like, but this was a trick the whole time, and Father is gone, and it was actually your superior the whole time.
See, the thing with that scene,
Yeah.
because he kills everybody.
Oh, fucking beautifully.
It kills all the henchmen, and there were specific points when the henchmen would like wait
Yeah.
for him to make the move
Yeah.
instead of just fucking attacking him. And I'm like, you mean the fucking cleric who's taught in Gunkata, that's the guy you're waiting for to get ready to kill you?
Yeah.
Just kill him. Just shoot him right now. But he kills so many people, and he enters the room. There's more people, kills them all,
Yeah.
and Taye Diggs has the unmitigated goal to think he can take him on.
Yeah.
Of which they have had the other scene when they sort of...
They sparred in the dojo earlier.
they sparred and he got beat. But to have the unmitigated gall, to watch him kill all those people and think, okay, I'm gonna handle this.
I can take this.
I can take this. And I laughed so hard.
He immediately gets his face cut off.
And Taye Diggs is fantastic in the film.
Yeah.
He's fantastic in the film. And his character is intuitive as well. Well, Preston's more of an empath,
Yeah.
but Taye Diggs is more of... he's going off intuition, but I sort of felt as if he wasn't 100%. Well, I thought he wasn't 100%, but then when you find out how he was brought in to sort of snuff him out,
Yeah.
you go, okay, so he knew all along.
Yeah.
But throughout it, like what you said before, he is a bit of a psychopath.
Completely. I fully believe that he is not on the drugs at all, because the state realizes that, he's just going to do whatever he needs to better himself, and as long as his goals align with ours, then he's a great tool.
And there is something, I was thinking about this, maybe thinking a little bit too much.
Yeah.
He's the only black person in the whole thing.
That's true, yeah.
And I did wonder, okay, is it because not many black people were allowed to play? Is it that? Or did they specifically want a black actor in that role?
I don't know. I find it hard to believe that they were like, this guy needs to be played by a black guy to drive some strange pseudo-racial point home. I feel like it's probably just, it was the early 2000s and studios were still only really trying to appeal to white folks and said, no, yeah, but we can have one in.
Because you do get the hint of how Taye Diggs is suspicious of Christian Bale. And there's one particular scene when it's the raiding these people, and Preston's trying to help them escape, but they end up in a dead end. And he asks Taye Diggs asks Christian Bale to kill them.
Yep.
And he refuses, and he's like, nah, it's yours. You take it. And they just kill them off. And then you find out later on that in that moment, Christian Bale switched the guns.
Yeah.
So he's actually got Preston's gun, which has the data of where they were.
Mm-hmm.
Which is, but none of that fucking matters.
No, because it was all a double cross anyway. So.
Yeah, it's a double cross to double cross, and it's like, okay, it's the Key and Peele sketch.
Yeah. Yeah. Completely manufactured tension.
And then, you see, early on in the film, you see William Fichtner. And because you recognize him, you're like,
He's somebody.
he's somebody. But he's just sat in the crowd
Yeah.
at the beginning. And you never see him again until later on when you find out, what's his character name? Jungen?
Jurgen.
See, I was thinking of Carl Jung.
Yeah.
I wonder if there's... Nah. But when he shows up and you find out he's the leader of the resistance, and he used to be what Preston is now,
Yeah.
I thought that was brilliant. That was brilliant. But I sort of feel like you get that a lot of like whoever's leading the resistance used to be part of the problem.
You gotta understand the machine to disassemble it.
But then it's the underground as well.
Mm-hmm.
Because the underground is like, they've got their own society.
Yeah, and apparently it's a literal underground. Like it's just you got the main city walks above, and then right underneath them there's a whole bunch of people doing it.
And they're all just like living their lives underneath, just filling and shit. And it's like
no one bothered to check directly underneath you? Okay, sure.
That's when you go, the state is fucking doing a bad job.
Yeah, terrible.
Terrible job. If you can recognize that. You don't need Preston to help you with that. How about you literally look underground?
Mm-hmm.
But the plan, see, the plan of taking out the father,
mm-hmm.
which going back to the religious connotations, taking out the father and blowing up the factories that make the prosium. Initially, I was like, okay, let me think about this plan. Because are people going to... Will people join a revolution just like that?
I don't know if it's so much about joining the revolution. I mean, in this case, William Fichtner says, all it takes is one day without the dose, and people's humanity will do the rest of the work. Which in this situation, I think is true. A day without the drug means that suddenly everyone's exposed to all these emotions, and they're probably not going to want to go back.
Yeah.
But there is this idea in the real world that society is only 3 days away from near total collapse, meaning that if all the lines of infrastructure and all the sort of systems of basic governments that keep things moving day to day, so trading routes and distribution of things like food and groceries and all that stuff, a power grid not working, water grid not working, all of these things, if they were out of commission for just a few days, then that would lead to incredible societal upheaval, and there would be a lot of people pretty angry with how the way things are. Because if everyone is suddenly disorganized and the people who are responsible for that disorganization are easily identifiable, then people know who to be angry at.
It's always, I'm always fascinated by how any particular state can gain control of masses of people and people won't fight back.
Mm-hmm.
That's always been something that's fascinated me, of how much you can use fear to control people.
Yeah.
Because if the adage of the strength in numbers, you'd sort of think, actually, you know, if we band together, we can take this down.
Yeah.
But it never happens like that. It sort of takes a small group to sort of sacrifice a lot. Of which I sort of felt like Preston should have died, but he doesn't.
No. He's too cool to die.
Yeah. The ending, I sort of felt like the ending was a bit abrupt.
Sure, absolutely.
It was a bit abrupt.
Yeah.
Because he kills everybody. And then he's just taking down the monitors, which apparently shooting down the monitors takes down all the other places that are broadcasting.
It was the early 2000s. People didn't realize that the computer part of computers weren't in the screens. But, you know.
Okay. Whatever. And then, yesterday I said, it's Moses meets the Matrix.
Yeah.
And then you were like, Jesus. And then I started thinking, the story of Jesus is the same as the story of Moses. in terms of a guy comes along,
Mm-hmm.
sees a bunch of people being oppressed, motivates them to fight back, and he helps them gain freedom.
Yeah.
But then it's like you've always had those type of figures throughout history in a way, haven't you? The Malcolm X, Martin Luther Kings, Mahatma Gandhi. I was about to say Mother Teresa, but she's...
What, the nun who was mean to kids?
See, okay, so when I brought that up,
Yeah.
I didn't know about the mean to kids.
No?
Because when we learned it in school, that never got brought up.
Oh, no, because, I mean, you don't want to show the bad side of her.
But after you said it, I looked it up and it was like, yeah, she was...
She was pretty mean to kids.
And then I started thinking about it a little bit more. I was like, she was a nun.
Yeah. She was a nun in the 1800s, early 1900s or whenever.
But it makes sense. It makes sense.
Yeah.
It makes sense. But going back to Preston. Oh, there was a great scene, right? When Mary's about to get burnt.
Mm-hmm.
And the camera, the camera moves into Preston's eye.
Yeah.
And that's where you see her get burnt. I thought that was fucking cool. That was just a cool shot. Just like, oh, that's pretty neat.
Yeah.
That's pretty neat. But then I was thinking about other times I've seen that before. And I can't think of them now.
They're out there.
But they are out there.
Yeah.
How would you feel about the dogs?
About killing all the dogs.
Yeah.
I mean, very good way to set up a villain is to have them murder a dog or a cat. I mean, part of the basic rules of screenwriting, there's the save the cat moment where you establish that your protagonist is unabashedly a good person because they save an animal. And in this, we have save the puppy because you don't want to watch the puppy get executed.
Do puppies bring out emotions?
Yeah.
Why?
Well...
Because I was thinking this when I was watching the film. I was like, what is it specifically about puppies that bring out emotion?
I'm not entirely sure about all the studies and things that have gone into it, but from what I know, animals, baby animals especially, but animals in general, domesticated ones, evolved in a way that mirrors instincts that bring out this intense emotional response in humans. So, like, there's this idea that cat meowing, domesticated cats have evolved to have a meow that is similar to a baby crying.
Yeah.
Because it just kicks in that emotional response in humans and makes us want to take care of them. Over the years that dogs were evolving, they went from being wolves to being all the cute, cuddly things we have now because we kept the cuter ones around. So the more cute ones survived, the more cute babies there were, and then the more cuter cute babies there were, the more we kept around. And it's just this cycle of becoming evolution accidentally appealing to our instincts, to our brains recognize cuteness.
Because my brain definitely recognized the cuteness.
Oh yeah, the puppy's adorable.
Yeah. I thought he was being stupid trying to keep the puppy.
But if I was in that situation, I would be like, no, we can't kill the puppy, guys. Come on.
Yeah, but if you're trying to run away from the state or hide your nefarious activities from the state, the puppy has to go.
Pragmatically, the puppy has to go.
Yeah. Yeah, the puppy has to go.
But he's not in a pragmatic state of mind. He's still waking up. His journey throughout of slowly letting all this emotion wash into him. He drops the one dose one morning when he's brushing his teeth. It falls on the floor and breaks. His kid being all fucking narky, is like, all right, so now you're gonna go to the Equilibrium Center and get a new dose, right? Right? He's like, yeah, totally. And he goes, but due to terrorist activity, that center, that distribution center, is not working. So then he misses the dose for the day. And as he's walking through society, he notices someone holding their hand on a railing, climbing stairs, and so he takes off his glove and feels it. And it's sensory, obviously, but they make that literal so that he absorbs a visual shorthand for him taking in these emotions is him literally feeling things all over the place.
Yeah.
When he goes into the art stashes, he just feels everything. He puts his hand over all the pictures and the records and the snow globe and all this stuff.
Oh, it's the thing with the pictures where you find out that Mary and Errol were together.
Mm-hmm.
And the picture at the back says freedom.
Yep.
But that's, see, is love freedom? Is freedom going for the things you love? If you're not allowed to go for the things you love, is that prison?
Yes, I believe that, yeah. If you can't, indulge in emotion, then you're not free.
It's an interesting prison to be in.
Mm-hmm.
Not being able to feel. And as someone who was on antidepressants, I know the feeling of numbness. And that was the second time the idea of going on antidepressants, I was hesitant because the first time I was so numb.
Yeah.
I couldn't feel anything. And I just didn't want that. But it is that thing of like, your emotions. See, I think my personal problem is that I feel too much. So my thing to that is that I have to feel it, but not let it control me. Be able to harness it in different ways. But I don't want it to be like numbness.
Yeah.
But then it's just popped into my head that, when Preston tries to kiss Mary, that pissed me off.
Yeah.
Because that's your old best friend's girl.
Did he know that at the time, though?
He had the picture. He'd already seen the picture.
That's true. Yeah, he's having a moment,
Doesn't matter.
He ain't felt that since his life.
No. I've realized that I have a thing about cheating. Like, no matter what, you should never cross that line. There is something within me when I see a character cheat, no matter the justification, I'm like, you're a bitch. And that's not specifically for women, it's for men as well.
Yeah.
But like, you're a bitch. And I hate you.
Fair enough.
And I don't know where that comes from. I've never been cheated on, by the way.
No?
No. I don't think I have.
Yeah.
I don't think I have. But if I was in that situation, I think I would handle it with decorum.
Yeah?
Yeah, I would be calm. I just wouldn't give a fuck. I'd be like, it's done. I don't need an explanation. It's like...
Moving on.
Yeah, it's like...
Just, all right, goodbye then.
Yeah, well done. I hope you had fun. But, sorry, going back to Mary and Preston, their relationship. The two of them really, they do sort of build a connection, but it never gets that far because, they discover it straight away, and she has to go because she's gonna get burnt. And I did wonder whether that was a thing that was needed, but now when I'm even speaking, I'm realizing that throughout the film, the film sort of works in a way where Preston, he's in a place, his journey, he's in a place where he doesn't feel, and he wakes up, and then he's discovering all these different sensations. Then he's roped into essentially leading this revolution, which he's reluctant at first, then he accepts. And by the end, he wins. Now the thing with Mary, I'm just thinking about it. It's like it sort of comes out of nowhere if you think about it, because he's pining over his ex-wife. He knows this is his partner's, whatever they were, but they were close. And he falls for
her. He falls for her before he finds out that her and Sean Bean knew each other.
Do they? I feel like it was the picture first. He gets the picture and then he's like, no, he confronts her with the picture.
He does do that later on, but I mean, when he pins her down that one time, that's before the picture or anything. The ribbon.
See, I'm not counting that. I'm counting the scene when they want to touch each other's hands. Because that scene comes after the picture.
Yes.
Because the pinning down, there's hints.
Yeah.
But I don't feel like... I sort of felt it as like he hasn't been around a woman for so long.
Yeah, I think that it's not so much that he is falling for her, but it's that all these feelings that he had to suppress when he was with his wife are coming out. It's a guilt thing. Because after she gets executed, he watches back the footage of her being led away, and then he also watches the footage of when that happened to his wife, and then you realize that he was standing right behind his wife as she was getting led away to be executed. So it's clear in that moment that it's all that guilt is hitting him then, and it just breaks him. And is that when he has to go outside, and he just has this silent breakdown where it's all trying to come out, and then Taye Diggs comes up and arrests him?
So guilt.
Yeah.
What other emotion?
Shame.
Shame.
Love.
Love. A bit of lust.
Yeah.
What else? Anger. Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely has anger at the end. Yeah, he sort of he goes through the whole awakening of his feelings, yeah. No, yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you. I'm with you. Because I'm just fascinated, because when did Batman Begins come out?
That was like 2006, I want to say.
Batman Begins?
Maybe 2008? The Dark Knight was
The Dark Knight was 2008.
The Dark Knight was 2008, so then
I felt
Batman Begins must have been 2005 or 6.
No, I thought it was like 2004.
Was it? Oh man, wait. Batman Begins 2005.
2005.
Split the difference.
Okay.
Yeah.
2005. So 3 years after this. Christian Bale has always he's one of my favorite actors. He's always struck me as someone, reading his interviews, like early on in his career, he didn't feel as if he was doing things he wanted to do.
Yeah.
And doing Batman sort of allowed him to be in a place where he got to do the things, because then that led to the fighter and all that stuff. And when did American Psycho?
American Psycho was 2001, I think.
2001. Okay, see, American Psycho, then this makes sense in terms of choices. Because when you actually watch his performance, there's something having to work out how the character is in a place where they're completely cold and now they're being flooded with all these emotions. That journey, I felt he worked that out brilliantly. And I sometimes wonder when I look at actors when they pick their projects, whether their hearts are fully into it
Yeah.
or whether it's just like a paycheck.
Yeah.
But I feel as if Christian Bale's heart was into this.
Yeah. In some way. I don't... Since Christian Bale was a child, I'm not sure he's done much that he wasn't at least interested in doing. Or at least if he gets hired to do something, he will find meat in it. Like, even doing Terminator Salvation, he took that role very, very seriously.
See, I saw Terminator Salvation when it first came out, and I haven't seen it since. Because I could not remember a single thing that happens.
Yeah, it's...
I just remember, what's the actor called? The main guy in it. Avatar guy.
Oh.
Avatar guy.
Yeah, Avatar
he's the main guy.
Jake Sully. Sam Worthington.
Sam Worthington.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a bit of a... That movie's a little bit forgettable. But Christian Bale's killing it. I mean, his rant, his whole famous, this and this in the background, great rant to listen to. And it's an extreme reaction, but I completely understand where he's coming from in that moment, because he takes you could call him a method actor, because he stays in an emotion when they're doing a scene so that he doesn't have to keep summoning it back up every time. And it was a tense day, and he was going through this tense scene, and they were trying to get it done, and someone was fiddling in the background of a shot while they were working on things. And that's like, it's a movie set, things have got to keep moving, but also, you know, that's a big interruption of someone's process. And so I get where he's coming from.
No, I completely agree. I don't think he was out of line. I was just looking up.
Yeah.
Going off of his choices, some of the things he did. He was clearly playing, what would you call it? The stereotypical leading man type of thing. Where, even though he wasn't necessarily the lead in it, like, he played Prince Amleth in Prince of Jutland. He was in Little Women. Pocahontas, something called The Portrait of a Lady, The Secret Agent, Metroland with Emily Watson again.
Ooh, nice.
All the Little Animals, Midsummer Night's Dream, then The Turn of the Century, American Psycho. He was in Shaft. And okay. Okay. Captain Corelli's Mandolin.
Yeah.
Laurel Canyon, Ran of Fire, Equilibrium, The Machinist, Howl's Moving Castle, Batman Begins, and then it sort of... I wonder what the... I sort of feel like the American Psycho sort of flipped.
It was a real interesting, serious role for him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because this is interesting.
Mm-hmm.
This is interesting. There's meat here for him to chew on and play with.
The way he reacts to realizing that Sean Bean might be compromised is interesting, because it's right after he gets chewed out by the leader of the clerics saying, "Why didn't you notice that your wife was sense offending?" And he says, Yeah, I don't know. I asked myself that to this day. And just before that, he's noticed Sean Bean have a little moment of, oh, maybe he's not fully in it. That's, I think, what you were asking about earlier on when we started, was they're in the car, and he says, every time we come back to the city from the Nethers, I'm reminded of why we're doing this. It reminds me of why we do it. And Sean Bean says, does it?
Yes.
And he looks at him and says, like, what? As in, like, what is that reaction? And then Sean Bean gives himself a dose, and he just says, it does. And then he gives himself the dose. But so right after that moment, and then the chewing out, is when he thinks, maybe there's something up with Sean Bean. I should continue pursuing this. And I think that's because it's all through the acting. I'm not sure if it's intentional in the script. I mean, obviously it is a little bit, but it's all through the acting where you realize, oh, he is realizing this about Sean Bean. He's actually following up on those instincts of his. I think because he loves Sean Bean.
Yes.
He feels a way about Sean Bean that he realizes that he hasn't felt about anyone except maybe his kids and his wife. And that means that that's a weakness, and so he hunts it down there before he realizes that that's not a weakness, it's a strength, and it needs to be valued. It's that little glimmer of feeling in him that spurs him to go on this path.
We've mentioned a few of the cool fighting scenes at the beginning, the one at the end, the one in the middle with the puppy, where he's surrounded.
And he flips the guns around and bashes through their helmets.
Which was another situation where they waited for him to attack instead of just attacking him. Honestly, guys, do your jobs. I have the same problem in John Wick. Because they do the exact same thing in John Wick. I hate that in movies. I hate that in movies.
This movie, it's very John Wick, the fighting styles.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's... I mean, you've got the costumes, which set it up to create this world. And it's a lot of gray. A lot of gray, a lot of black. It's so drab. See, this is where you realize how much color affects things. Because even the living spaces, it's drab.
The dystopia has gotten to the point where they're like, no, everything must serve a practical purpose. Apparently they shot a lot of it in Berlin because of the Nazi fascist architecture. That was a heavy inspiration for all of these super tall buildings, these big coliseums, the fucking blimps everywhere. But even the windows of all their houses have paper or some material over them to completely blur out the light, so that it's just what the window's purpose is to let light in from outside. It's not to admire any views. And he wakes up after having that panic attack, and he realizes that the sun is rising outside, and he just starts clawing down the window covering, and you get color for the first real time in the movie. This gorgeous sunrise over the city.
And the only other time you get color is when they find all the artifacts.
Yeah.
That's the only other time you get color. Oh, actually, there was a cool thing is when he's going to kill off the father.
Yeah.
The room has color.
Because father's allowed to feel these things. He's allowed to have these luxuries. No one else is, though. A lot of reds and a lot of golds in the colored parts of this movie.
Which I guess, especially red. Red and... Does the symbol, which resembles the swastika, is there red in it?
Yeah.
Okay.
There is. I think it's black on a red background. It's full on just a swastika, but it's made out of T's instead of L's.
Which see.
Yeah.
You can cut this out if you think it's too much. The Nazis, right?
Yeah.
I do wonder if there are some political leaders who look at the Nazis and see what they achieved and see what is possible in sort of like the West. And they are trying to, or have tried to emulate that level of sort of social control, which was it yesterday when I asked you if democracy is the right political system?
You ask me that quite often, honestly.
Because I do wonder
Yeah.
what is the best political system, because democracy doesn't exist. It's been proven to us that it doesn't exist recently. Maybe it did at a certain point, but I sort of feel as if they're showing us, no, it doesn't exist. So what political system does work where you can curtail sort of these things happening, sort of having a Nazi party existing? Maybe it needs to be a whole new thing.
Yeah, like I said, I wouldn't call myself an anarcho-communist, but it has to start with community. It has to... It's the abstraction of ideas, the abstraction of ideas through the internet, the abstraction of ideas, like in this movie, through getting rid of emotions, all these things. Abstraction leads us to be less in touch with actual reality, and that lets people rationalize worse and worse things.
Which you're seeing play out in real time right now.
Yeah.
Anything you want to point out specifically?
Yeah, let's see. Yeah, I think I've gone through most of the main ideas I wanted to hit. It's, you know, the movie's kind of cheesy. Some of it doesn't exactly hold up if you start thinking about it for too long, but it does what it's trying to do pretty goddamn effectively. The gun... Oh, okay, I'll talk about gun kata for a minute. Gun fu originated in, like, Hong Kong action movies. Apparently John Woo, Face Off, was instrumental in making gun fu popular in the US because he used it in quite a few of his movies. And then, yeah, this movie specifically takes that and turns it into gun kata, an actual martial arts form based around statistical trajectories of bullets in any given firefight, and the most statistically helpful poses you can whip to avoid bullets and shoot as many people as possible. It's a ridiculous idea, but god damn, it looks cool.
See, when that was introduced in the film, I was like, wait, are they using mats?
Yeah.
To fight with guns? Of which, of course, they're the best ones. How fast does your brain have to work out the trigonom? I don't even. That's not a word.
Trigonometry.
Yeah, but I was gonna say trigonometrical word. Like it's not a word.
Trigonometrical.
Trigonometrical.
That could be a word.
Well, what's the place called? It's called tetra.
Oh, the office of the tetragram. Tetragram. They're pulling from like Bible references with the tetragrammatron, which is some type of angel or whatever. The Gammatron, the Metatron, Metaton, whatever they are. All these things. The tetragram Tory, whatever it is. It's meaningless. There's not a whole lot of deeper meaning to all these biblical references. It's just like, they sound pretty fucking cool, these words. And so, let's use them for our super hit squad police force.
I don't... Yeah. Yeah.
You were asking how quick do you have to think to go through all those thoughts?
Yeah.
And so the idea of gun kata is that it just trains you in these positions so that you can instinctively get into them.
Oh.
So you don't even have to think about where all the enemies are. You can just rely on your instincts and the statistics get you through. And it leads to...
Oh, so anyone can be taught.
Well, you have to be good at it, obviously. You have to be, you know, so cool and badass like Dale is.
He's in fantastic shape in this film.
Yep. Going off sick shit. God, when he's going through the hallway to get to Father, and he is doing all this stuff with reloading his magazines, and he slides 2 magazines out, weighted magazines, so that they balance up, right? And so he's getting through all of them. He's unloading them. He bashes a few people with the guns. He does a fucking roll and then gets them clips right into the guns. It's so good.
And that's the first time you don't see him wearing black. That whole sequence, he's wearing white.
His ceremonial white officer uniforms with your traditional ceremonial samurai sword.
And you know what? Going back to the religious themes within the film, it sort of reminded me of the Pope.
Yeah?
Sort of reminded me of the Pope.
Sure.
I don't know why, but it is... look at that. The Pope died today.
Yeah.
Yeah, sort of reminded me of the Pope.
I think that especially, The Matrix was a big influence on that, because in the second Matrix movie, and the third one, Neo is wearing, he goes from the leather trench coat to, like, the coat with the priest collar. You know, that sort of short, tight collar around him, and he looks very like a priest.
Yes. And I don't know if that's what that's trying to say about priests, whether they're, like, higher power. And, well, yeah, I guess if... in today's world, we don't necessarily look at priests like that, but going back just even 200, 300 years, priests were sort of seen as divine beings. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it would make sense to sort of give them that symbolism of like, oh no, this is a divine being in front of you that deserves respect.
Yeah.
Nice detail. Mm-hmm. That's a nice detail. Yeah.
It's good stuff. That whole quarter fight leads him to fight Father, where he immediately face-offs Taye Diggs.
Literally.
Yeah. Gonna slice his face off.
Which was cool because he drops down to his knees and it just turns his head to just see his face fall off.
It's so slick. It's great. I do love his fight with Father, whatever his name is, the guy who's been pretending to be the whole time.
It's something McFadyen.
Yeah, it's not Angus McFadyen. I don't think he's related to...
No, he's not.
Matthew, but I love that fight because it's a decent, cool fight. They do some cool moves, but a lot of it, it's a slap fight.
It is a slap fight. And if you look at Angus's face...
Yeah.
I don't feel like he was comfortable doing that because, well, I don't know if it was a decision, but you look at Christian Bale's face and you look at his face, he sort of looks awkward. That's the best word.
Sure.
He looks a bit awkward. Like he's not breathing.
Huh.
Go back and watch it. Just look at his face.
Yeah.
Just look at his face.
I'll bet Angus McFadyen probably did not do a whole lot of physical fight action scenes. Especially one so slap fighty, specifically choreographed. Because it really is just like, they're both so good at the gun kata that they both keep moving their own hands out of the way. And it just, I love it so much because it is undeniably stupid and yet somehow so cool looking.
See, it makes sense for him to be in that position and being that good. But if you look at him, you kind of go, I don't think you're the best at this compared to Christian Bale.
No.
Compared to Christian Bale, I don't feel like you're in the best shape.
No, definitely not.
But yeah, you know, the film has a bit of cheese.
Yeah.
It does. But like, it's still early on in the new millennium that it's got those 90s film sort of flavor in it. But and obviously The Matrix plays a big part in the influence in 1984. But it's good. It's good.
Good.
It's good.
Right when Christian Bale beats Father in the slap fight, and the guy breaks down, and he's like, "No, okay, look at me. I'm feeling. I am alive. I am alive. Now that you know what it's like to feel life, will you take it? Will you pay that cost?" And Christian Bale just says, "Gladly." Which is a callback to something else, another lines earlier in the movie, where, again, it's the idea of how much the balance of these conflicting ideas of emotion and control. William Fichtner talks about how in order to ensure stability for everyone, some of us have to be able to make the hard decisions and prevent ourselves from feeling the full weight of the emotions that we experience, which is an interesting concept.
I feel like that's true.
Yeah.
I feel like that's true. I feel like in society, some people will have to bear more weight than others so that the majority can sort of live their lives.
Mm-hmm.
Guess you get that concept throughout. You know, if you really want to look at it, like going back, thanks to the religious undertones within this film, Moses, the story of Moses, that's a lot of shit for somebody to take upon. Like, the burning bush told you to release these people, and like, that's your responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
And these people, how many? What does the story say? They're like traveling for like years and years. I'm forgetting. I feel like it's like 40 years.
Yeah.
And everyone's like questioning him, like, bro, a bush told you to let us go? That shit's fucking worse.
Yeah.
But like, he has to sort of believe in it and carry on. And like, yeah, it is true. Like, forget that story. Look at Martin Luther King. Guy got shot. I wonder if you asked him at the beginning, at all of this, you go to 17-year-old Martin Luther King and be like, listen, bro, you're gonna motivate a lot of people for civil rights, but you're gonna get shot at the end.
Mm.
Early 40s. I don't know if Martin Luther King Jr. is gonna be like, yeah, I'm gonna do it. Because that's a lot of weight. That's a lot of weight on somebody. So maybe, yeah, you just need those people sometimes. And on that point, any last thoughts?
The polygraph stuff, the sick-ass gun kata, samurai murder circles all over the place. It rocks.
Do they always circle them?
There's a lot of times where he's circled completely.
Yeah, and they wait. Oh, fuck off.
They wait, but then they all start firing at the same time right as he starts whipping around and ducking and dodging and redirecting their bullets because he's the coolest motherfucker around. What are they going to do against that? There are some cool... The camera work in this movie, there's... You know, they edited around the action. That first raid, when, again, it's the darkness and then it's just lighting up with the gunfire... It's cool. It's very striking.
Yeah.
You just get these cut frames and flashing images of people getting blasted away and him whipping all these poses. There's a few other nice little tasteful things. When he is off the doses and he goes to his office and he looks around, and he's sort of waking up to the fact that he's stuck in this very ordered system. The camera above him, it's like his desk is centered in frame, and the camera just tilts around so that his desk shifts vertically, almost to be vertically centered in frame, but it's just slightly off, because now he is slightly askew in this world of perfect order around him, and that's when he starts rearranging his desk. And Taye Diggs comes in and is like, what are you doing? And he's like, I'm rearranging my desk. He says, you didn't like the way it was? And he's like, I didn't feel any way or another about it.
Yeah, you gotta cover up your tracks with that one.
Yeah. I think I had another thought, but it's escaping me for now. The people who made this movie, Kurt Wimmer, he's only directed a few movies, being One Tough Bastard from 1995, Ultraviolet from 2006, and Children of the Corn from 2020, apart from this one, Equilibrium. But he's written a bunch of stuff. He wrote a remake of the Thomas Crown Affair. He adapted Sphere, that cool-ass movie Sphere with Dustin Hoffman, and Sharon Stone, and Sam Jackson.
I don't think I've seen that.
It's pretty cool. It's a Michael Crichton book that they adapted. Barry Levinson directed it. The Recruit, Law Abiding Citizen, Salt, the remake of Total Recall.
Law Abiding Citizen, yeah.
Yep. the remake of Total Recall. He wrote the remake of Point Break. He wrote, and I'm so happy to inform you that he was one of the writers of Expendables. He's a genius, this man.
I mean,
Mm-hmm. What?
I don't really like to talk about that film.
We'll move on from that. Jan de Bont produced this. Jan de Bont being the director of Speed and the director of Twister, A Perfect Movie.
Okay. Okay.
Some good talent behind this. They knew what they were doing. Some good stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, that's most of my thoughts. Just it's not an incredibly complex movie, but it goes for some lofty ideas.
Yeah. Some interesting ideas.
Yeah.
Some cool action scenes.
Sick ass action.
Some great performances. It'll make you think.
Yeah.
You'll have fun.
You might cry.
You might cry. Yeah.
The scenes when he's like hearing the Beethoven music and when he's breaking down after seeing Emily Watson get executed, it's really powerful. He's selling it.
Yeah. No, it's true. There's some good things about it. Is it the best thing ever? No. But not everything needs to be the best thing ever.
I think this is the best thing ever.
Better than Jurassic Park.
Not as good as Jurassic Park. Jurassic Park is the best thing ever. That one's coming someday. As is Twister. But, yeah.
But we highly recommend Equilibrium.
Yeah.
If you have some time, put it on. Just look at what our future might potentially be. You know, there ain't no joke out here in the streets. And maybe you're listening to this one day in the future, and you're like, "Fuck, I should have watched Equilibrium. Would have told us this was going to happen all along."
Maybe this podcast is labeled EC10 in the future.
Yeah, this I feel like this podcast is responsible for bringing out emotions within us.
Yeah.
I don't know if anyone who listens, that's off topic. Off topic. We're gonna finish it there.
Yeah.
Listen to us on Spotify, YouTube, wherever you listen to your podcasts. And next week we'll come with a new episode, and it's my turn. I have not picked.
Okay.
I've got ideas.
Stay tuned.
Peace.